It's everybody's favorite time of the year because it's time to do pick'ems. Now, this is the Austin Blast Major, and we have 4 different pick'ems to do. We have stage 1, 2, 3, and playoffs. Of course, we're going to do stage 1 right now, and I'm going to give you the list of teams that I think have the best chance to make it through, so that way we can get our diamond coins, and I have a little incentive because this is the Austin Major, so I could have an Austin diamond coin if we make it all the way there. So I'll give you guys my picks as well as the explanation right after a quick word from today's sponsor.
Today's video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey. Now, if you're not familiar with SkinsMonkey, this is a trade site that allows you to take some of the old and crusty skins out of your inventory, and you can actually trade them in for something a little bit new, a little bit shinier than what you have right now. And it's really easy to do this, actually. All you need to do is log in through Steam, pick the skins that you don't want to use anymore, grab the ones that you do, and then click trade. All trades will pretty much happen immediately, and any balance that you don't use in your trade actually stays on the site for you to use for any future trades that you decide to do. And right now, if you use the link in the description, you can actually get a 35% deposit bonus, and that's good for up to $100. So let's say you deposit $100, you would actually get $135 on the site if you use my link. So make sure you check out SkinsMonkey, and let's hop right back into the video.
So we're going to kick things off by talking about the first team that I think will go 3-0, and this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody that's been watching CS recently, but there's only really one team that stands above the rest in this entire stage, and that is Heroic. Now, if you've looked at their recent results, they have had some pretty good ones. They have 2 series versus Aurora, where one they win and one they took a map. They did beat FaZe, as well as take a map off of Falcons, and that's just the one that they had in Dallas, or the run that they had in Dallas, I should say. But if you look at even before that, a lot of the teams that they're just absolutely dominating are all teams that are in this stage. So if there's any team that you can comfortably pick to go 3-0, it should just be them. Now, this is where things are going to get a little complicated because there's another team that should go 3-0, but the problem is that they're using a stand-in, and that, of course, is Complexity. They don't have Halzark for this event. They're actually going to be playing with Junior. If you're not familiar with the NA scene, Junior is an opera who's been around for a long time at this point, plenty of years. He is not going to be as good as Halzark, but the rest of the team has enough firepower, I think, to still get good results. I mean, they were just taking maps off of Mongols, Gamer Legion, they were taking series over Pain, they were not really struggling too hard in NA, but also look at this, they beat Aurora, beat FaZe, they've also taken a series off of Falcons. Granted, this was the Falcons that had Dexter, so it was a little bit different, but still a good result overall, and I don't think they're going to be playing anybody that's at this level, at least in this stage, barring maybe Heroic, but I still don't think that that's likely as long as Complexity stays winning. Now, I know they have a stand-in, but I still think that this is a pretty safe pick going forward, so I'm going to have these 2 teams as my 3-0. Moving on to the 0-3 category, there is one team that I think is most likely to fail out of any of the other rosters here, and that will be the Warriors team. Now, I just think that if you look at their recent results, a lot of them are versus teams that are also playing at this stage. We have a 2-0 loss to Heroic. We have a 2-0 loss to Bait, another one to Heroic. They did beat Saw, but Saw's not here. They've also lost to Tai Lu, maps off of Rare Adam. It's just not the most convincing thing I've ever seen, even some losses and best of ones to teams that I've never heard of. So if there's a team here that I think is most likely to go 0-3, it's going to be them. Now, the problem from here is that picking an 0-3 team is going to be almost impossible because there's a lot of teams that you can make a case for, and I'll start by talking about Linvision. The only issue is that their first matchup is going to be versus Legacy, and I think that they have a chance to win that one. I almost want to say they even should, but for the rest of their results, they're not too convincing, losing to Tai Lu as well as another regional opponent, as well as just, older results, they're beating Tai Lu, but I still just think that it's hard when we're looking at all these other teams. Like, have a look at Legacy. Again, we just said Linvision's going to play Legacy, but they just took a map off of 3D Max. They're getting better, and all of their results recently are good. Look at this. They beat NRG and Wildcard, a map off of Nouns, who aren't here, but that's still really strong. But they did lose to Bestia. They did take a map off Astralis, but they're also not the major. It's almost impossible to see how this match is going to go, especially when I think that Linvision and Legacy are the 2 most likely teams to go 0-3, but they play each other right away. And one best of 1 decides which one's going to get it. Now, there's actually another team that I think is a sleeper pick for an 0-3, which would actually be Fluxo. They have not played a ton of CS apart from in their own region. Now, they did win ECL in the region. However, they haven't really played anyone else, and whenever they played like Legacy and Bestia, they won, but they lost to Imperial, and that's another team that is also in this stage. So I do think that if they get some unlucky draws, their first one is actually going to be versus FlyQuest, and I think they'll lose that one. then they could end up in the 0-3 match. Granted, I don't feel as comfortable picking them as a team like Vision or Legacy. And then, of course, the last team that I want to propose to you is going to be NRG. Now, I have a lot of NA bias, but if you just look at these most recent results, a clean 2-0 against Falcons, Aurora, Legacy 2-0'd them. If we go farther back, they did take a map off of NIP, but you know, the rest of these results, very nice versus the NA opposition. But again, I don't expect a ton from them. So with their first match being versus Tyloo, I think they're probably going to lose that one. And that's going to set them in a bad spot early on. So all that being said, I think there's 4 teams that you could pick to go for this last spot. However, I'm unfortunately going to choose NRG for my 0-3 just because I really don't know how they're coming into this event. Now, for the rest of the teams that are going to advance, it's not as obvious of the picks that we're going to have, but we'll start with the one that I think is most likely, which is going to be Bait. Now, they've been playing fantastic recently. If you just want to have a look at their results, they, of course, did just win ECL in their region as well over Paravision. This is James' new team. Just in general, they have looked a tiny bit shaky, which is why I think if they get matched against somebody like Heroic, they would probably lose, but they also have beat them in a best of 3. They, of course, beat Astralis to qualify for the major in the first place, and all the teams that aren't here, they beat them. They deserve to be here. They're a perfect team to pick to advance. There's almost no world where they don't. They could even go 3-0 if they get their right draws, but I think that they're a nice pick to go next. Now from here, I think there's another team that's safe to pick to go through, and that team is going to be BetBoom. And if we look here, this is Boomage's new team. Their recent results are pretty good. I mean, there's nothing too crazy. I don't think they're going 3-0, but look, they're getting 2-0s versus Wildcard and Imperial, maps off of Bait, maps off of Heroic. And overall, they have what it takes to make it through. It would be surprising if they didn't, but of course, if they got matched against Heroic, I would still favor them to lose that series, so that's why I don't have them going 3-0. Not much else to say. This is going to be where my NA bias comes in because I'm also going to slide Wildcard in as well. Now, the recent results have not been very good. They have lost to Legacy. Of course, Spirit and Vitality, that one's fine. They beat Pain. Map off of Heroic, lost series to BetBoom, but they beat NRG. Again, it's not a team that I'm like hard sending to go through to the next stage. They'll probably play the 2-2 decider match and make it through. They have what it takes. They played well at the last major, and I know that it's been a few months since then, but overall, I still believe they have what it takes to make it to stage 2. Now, these last 3 picks are going to be incredibly close, so we'll just start with the first one I have is OG. Now, they have not played a ton of CS recently, but if you look at their results, they're not too bad. Of course, the first match they played at the majors versus Complexity, and I do have Complexity going 3-0, so I still think that they will. But OG, their results are not bad. A series off of Aurora, that's the old Aurora, not the Eternal Fire roster. Series off of Metasports, maps off of Astralis and BetBoom. I think they have what it takes, but it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't make it through, but just from the eye test alone, I still think that they should do it. Now we have 2 more spots left, and I have 3 teams that I want to make a case for. We're going to start with Tyloo because I think that they actually have a decent case. Their first game is against NRG, like I already said, and I don't think the NRG is going to give them too much trouble. If you just look at their recent results, Tyloo's taking Vision, FlyQuest, no real issues as well versus Rare Atom. However, in the past, they have lost some series to Vision, and that's not from too long ago either, so I could see a world where maybe that matchup comes in if Vision beats Legacy, but I don't see Tyloo not making it through with these results. The only thing that I'm worried about is that if they get some unfortunate matches after the first round, they could get knocked down and have to play the 2-2 decider and not make it. Now, the other team that could take the spot is FlyQuest. FlyQuest have not been winning versus Tyloo, but when they play internationally, they've beaten Virtus Pro. Admittedly, Virtus Pro is not very good right now, I'm not gonna lie. A map off of Navi, maps off of Tyloo, and the Eternal Fire roster, they beat Pain, and it's like they have what it takes to make it through, but also I want to make a case for Metasport as well. Metasport have been playing pretty decent recently. Admittedly, though, they have not had the chance to play as many tier 1 teams, if any, to be honest. They have beaten Astralis, they took a map off of OG, BC Game, as well as Bait, who I also said I think will make it through. They don't look terrible, but coming into this event, they haven't played too much, and their first opponent's Wildcard. So these 3 teams all could take a spot, but if I'm going to use my best judgment, I'm going to go ahead and put FlyQuest as making it through, and I'm also going to put Tyloo as making it through, and these are going to be my pick'ems for the first stage. I could maybe slide in any of these teams for maybe like Tyloo you could put Metasport if you were feeling it. Maybe you don't buy into OG, and you think Imperial's been playing good. The only reason I don't want to put Imperial is because they haven't been playing any international CS. They've mostly just been in South America, so I don't rate that very high right now. And I don't really think anything else is too changeable. You could put Complexity in the 3-1 to 3-2, but I don't know who you would put at 3-0. I don't think there's one team that stands out like a Complexity would. Maybe Wildcard if they get a good start. But yeah, overall, let me know what you guys think about these picks, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you can see all of the pick'ems as they come out, and make sure you guys come watch my streams because we'll be watching the entire major live. Twitch.tv/AustinCS_. I hope to see you guys there. And that's going to be it for me. I'm very tired. I just got back from IEM Dallas, so apologies for the low energy, but either way, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Much love as always.